Hey everyone, welcome back to the Movie Studios, and I'm here with a brand new video for you guys. We are going to be talking about When Calls the Heart Season 8, Episode 3, titled From the Ashes, and I'm here with my mom, Stacey Mduhzay. Thanks for joining me.
Hi guys.
Okay, so we watched this Sunday evening live, and I personally, it's When Calls the Heart, obviously we're going to be excited for it, even if it's an episode that I don't personally like, or we're not interested in the story, we're still going to watch it. And overall, this episode, it was a decent episode. I thought that there were good moments, specifically with the supporting characters. I found good ones. I wasn't. I thought it was might have been a little bit like we didn't get much like compared to the first two. This one might be a little bit fall behind. And like, what did you think of this episode?
I did think it was just an okay episode for me. And in saying that though, I always enjoy just the whole idea of the show, and I always do look forward to it, like you said. But yeah, there were just it just wasn't my favorite episode.
And like, I don't think it was anything. It was nothing against the acting, the editing, the filming. It was
Right.
still a good episode. I mean, that explosion was like. I mean, I'll talk about that in a second, but I thought that was still a very well done scene.
Hmm.
So we're actually gonna talk about the explosion first
Okay.
to get that out of the way. Um, I mean, we knew it from the promo that some sort of explosion was to happen. So pretty much they got oil, and then everything blew up. So they're fighting to save it because they don't want the town to burn down or anything. I thought that it was a decent moment. I thought it was going to be a bigger part of the episode. I wasn't expecting it to just be like a 2 minute scene. What did you think of the explosion?
Well, I guess the two takeaways I had from that scene was as always, when something tragic happens, the town all comes together, and I love seeing that unity within the group of townspeople that they want to help, whatever's going on. And then the other thing, which we'll probably touch on later, is I love that the store owner Ned was our hero. So, and that was kind of neat. So,
Well, I did like how Fiona stepped in though. And she's like,
yes,
does it have to be a man?
yeah,
They're continuing with Fiona being very independent.
yes, I'm liking that.
Mhm. And I think that I'm not sure if we're gonna try to connect this with a love triangle any. I didn't feel like Elizabeth was as concerned with Lucas being involved in that, or Nathan being involved in the fire. But that could I don't know if that means anything necessarily.
Hmm.
What do you think?
I don't know either. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about that one. It didn't seem like she was like devastated. Not like when Nathan, when she thought he was, had got shot and she ran to him. So yeah, I don't know. It's
hmm
an interesting point.
And they say there's one thing I want to say about that. Like moving on to the inquiry thing, I didn't feel like they used the phrase Nathan almost died. They used that phrase, but he didn't get injured at all. So like, I don't know why they're using that specific phrase, considering like he didn't get injured at all.
Right,
So I think almost got shot would be a better thing because he was definitely very close to that
right.
thing. But like I don't think you can say he was almost killed. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. But they're doing an inquiry. They're opening it up, and it's mainly because this guy has some sort of fishy business with Nathan.
Yeah.
And I think Nathan's backstory is like something that I'm sure next episode, especially, we're gonna get more on.
Yeah.
And like, did he know Jack? Was he involved in when Jack? Because he was apparently Nathan was in the area of Jack's last assignment. So it'll be interesting to see what that means. Is he involved in that, and what does it mean for like Elizabeth and Nathan's
Yeah.
relationship? But at this point, like I don't think Nathan's a bad guy. Honestly, I think this guy. I want to know what business they have together. I'm sure next episode. I'm assuming he'll be back, and we'll learn more about that.
Hmm.
But like I am concerned for Nathan because it feels like his backstory, in my opinion, is more mysterious than Lucas. I think just
Hmm.
because we keep getting more hints, where like I didn't feel like when we got Helen, for instance. I'm not sure if like I think we're getting more of Nathan's backstory though than
Hmm.
Lucas's backstory in a way where I feel like they both needed to be touched on. But like, what did you think first of all of Nathan declining the offer to buy Bill's land? I'm assuming that's because of Elizabeth's rejection. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, he envisioned him, Allie, and Elizabeth living on that land, and when he felt like there was no hope, why buy the
hmm
land? So he
Yeah.
backed out.
Well, there is still hope, but once Elizabeth gets her act together. We'll just have to,
Hopefully, but
hopefully,
yeah.
based on the ending of this episode, we have some thoughts on that. But and then really quick, what did you think of the whole like setting up this inquiry thing? And what do you think this person has against Nathan?
It almost seems like it has something to do with whatever Nathan and Jack had, you know, whatever there's there that's not being disclosed to us. So I,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to say, but you can tell that there's definitely some animosity, or they just don't like each other. So something happened in their past that hopefully will come out in the next episode.
Yeah, I'm actually excited for next episode for that reason, to get to see Nathan, his backstory get revealed. Um, and then I want to say we're going to talk about the whole Lucas side of things at the end, but I am liking this Nathan storyline too. I'm liking that. I mean, Elizabeth's of course going to be involved in it, but I like how Elizabeth this episode we didn't get any interactions with them, and I think that they did that on purpose because I think it was too awkward of a conversation that they had last episode to have them have those scenes together.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked Nathan being in scenes other than Elizabeth to make those like life decisions, and move forward. Now, again, I still think based on the end of this episode, it feels like she's just not. It feels like she's just too confused, and that she's not leaning towards a side whatsoever, based on what Lucas said, in my opinion. Which we'll talk about that later, but we're gonna go ahead and move on to talking about the motorcycle, which I thought was funny, but it's another like, and I'm not sure if this is gonna be like an actual issue between Clara and Jesse, or if this is just a one-time thing. But Jesse took a interest in Lee's motorcycle that he was giving up, and he offered to buy it from him, and Clara wasn't exactly happy with it, and Rosemary was kind of butting in, saying Jesse needs to get off that bike right now, and that she would not have him be getting hurt, which I did. That's just like a Rosemary thing to do to butt
Mm-hmm.
into those situations, But what do
Yeah.
you think of this whole thing?
It was definitely interesting. Once again, we're going back to this whole Jesse and Clara. They're newly married. They're trying to figure things out, and Jesse's actually making a decision that on his own about this bike that should never be a decision he gets to make on his own. He'd come to Clara, and she's like, no, and then we'll talk about this later, and before you know it, he has the bike. So I imagine this is going to be a source of tension for them once again in their marriage.
hmm
So
And like, I think that it's okay to have these issues. I think that once we get past these issues, they'll like have more of like a happy marriage, because Rosemary and Lee had their issues,
yeah.
specifically on Rosemary's part. And Elizabeth and Jack, we just didn't have enough time to see their issues,
Right.
And that was kind of unfortunate, So it'll be interesting to see if this motorcycle thing. It could just be a one-time thing, or it could add more to, the story. I do kind of see some similarities between Caleb from Heartland and Jesse. What do you think?
Definitely.
And I felt that Jesse kind of got what he deserved when when the motorcycle ran out of gas at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what he deserved. It was funny too.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wanted to talk about There's not much between Molly and Bill this episode. Although she's trying to figure out something to buy for Bill's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a little something. But we did get to see more of Ned and Florence. First of all, Gowan apologized for accusing Ned of opening the letter, which was a good thing. And he got Florence flowers.
Yep.
And then Ned and Florence started kind of like flirting. And then, do you think like I'm glad that they're like putting this earlier on, and I think that I don't even. What do you think of them so far?
I think they're going to be a cute couple, and it is sweet to see their little flirtations, and everybody deserves to be happy. So it is neat to see this older couple, building a relationship together.
I like how Florence and Molly are actually getting some more screen time, and how they might actually develop as characters.
Definitely.
I think that would be cool to see, because they pretty much haven't had like storylines or development this far into the. I think at the beginning we know that both of their husbands die in the mining thing.
Yes.
And like that's kind of all that we know about them. But it's nice to see them be more involved, in like the Hope Valley life, and get their own love interest. I think I do like that, other than being gossip,
Exactly.
which of
'Cause,
course they're still going to be. But
Yeah.
like it's nice that they're getting more than that.
I agree.
And I think that they're both really good actresses. Would you agree?
Yep, I like them.
I think that everyone in this show has good acting. I think that's something that everyone can
Mm-hmm.
agree on who
Yeah.
watches this show. Um, so the next thing I want to talk about is Carson and Faith. So there's starting to be some tension growing on them as well. I don't think it's either one of them's fault in particular. I think this could be something normal. I think Amy and Ty had these issues in Heartland when like what once Ty kept interrupting Amy when it came to them trading like an incident with a horse and
Mm-hmm.
she got mad at him understandably. But I think that it comes down to like Amy can be a little bit too quick like the thing that she decided on a decision quicker where Ty like to think about it a little bit more. Now, I mean, what do you think of the whole Carson and Faith situation? Who do you think was in the right?
Well, Carson's used to being the doctor, and Faith is the nurse, and the nurse has to listen to the doctor. And it kind of reminds me of Fiona and Faith kind of together remind me of each other because it's this whole battle of it's a male dominated society, and women take this secondary role. But you know what? Faith has spent all this time studying, and she considers herself to be a very learned person and able to make really good decisions medically. And she really struggled with Carson doubting her. So, like Fiona, there's strong women and they want to be heard, they want a voice. So,
hmm I think that, and I don't think Carson was. I don't think that. I mean, I think Carson isn't totally in the wrong too, because I feel like he's the doctor. He's used to being it. And I think that it's something that is going to gradually take time for him to accept Faith and have her be more of an important part. Because although they're together, I mean, like he might be a little bit like curious as to why, like she is like upset at this point because he still believes in whatever she's capable of.
yeah.
Like when it comes to like her studying and like her being like a nurse, but I think that it's understandably he's gonna have to take time to decide like how much like just to accept Faith having a larger role. And that this I like how it doesn't have anything to do with a romantic relationship necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a business partner
Right.
situation. And there's like more to it. I think it'll be interesting to see future episodes them being in them having that storyline because I think it's a very typical like as opposed to the whole like motorcycle thing that Claire and Jesse are having. This seems more of like a typical struggle. It seems like
Mm-hmm.
having like this business thing
Yeah.
and like one not necessarily accepting the other to be at the same level that they are,
Yeah.
which she's not necessarily at the same level that he is. Carson is because Carson has been doing this for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'll just have to wait and see where this goes, but I think it's
Yeah.
very intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one more thing before we get to the Lucas side of the love triangle, which is the main side. I wanted to talk about Rosemary and Lee. Lee bought a chair,
Mm-hmm.
and he wants to be the first one to sit down in it. And he's like kind of like positioning it, and then he has to go to work. And Rosemary decides to sit down in the chair, and then it collapses immediately, which was funny.
Mm-hmm.
But and then like we kind of understand like why Lee was like so attached to this chair because his grandpa made stuff and now he doesn't make anything anymore. I'm assuming he's just like older age. And like Rosemary like apologized to him and then she decided to make him like a little wood shop
Mm-hmm.
area where Lee can continue to make things that his grandpa made. What do you think of this little thing?
Well, I thought it was sweet. I did. I I guess Lee's kind of at a point in his career, and he said, I just sell wood. I don't make things with the wood. And he's kind of remembering his past and his grandfather and how they
Mm-hmm.
made things together. And I think he's yearning for something new. So, I mean, we've kind of been talking about this relationship with them, and we're seeing that they're on the verge of something, some changes. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe this will be the change for them, that one of the changes.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
we'll
like I
see.
think they're building this up, for
Mm-hmm.
them to have like a big change. And I am excited for that, some
Mm-hmm.
sort of like big change, and I think that they need that in their relationship because like it's not in anything. I think that they're like in the previous seasons they're like they're cute together, but like this season I feel like they're tackling something more, which I
Mm-hmm.
think that they need to. Considering I don't necessarily want to see them like helping out with Clara and Jesse's marriage problems. They deserve more of their own storyline,
Yeah.
because they've been a couple for so long, and I feel like that just haven't dived into.
Yeah.
We've barely scratched the surface when it comes to their life choices, and I'm really hoping this season sees them like maybe adopt a baby, which is we would love to see that.
Yeah.
If they did that at the end of season 8, I think Rosemary needs to be a mom.
Mm-hmm.
I think that she's
She
been earning
wants
for
to.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that, but like I think that she's in her. I think that we see her, and I think that we think that she needs to be a mother. Would you agree?
Oh, definitely. You could tell she desires it so much. Um, you see her with little Jack, and she's so good with him, and she
Hmm.
craves that. So, yeah, I'm hopeful for
Yeah,
them.
and I don't think it's like a jealousy thing. Like she's jealous that
No.
Elizabeth has a child and not her. I mean, you think about it, like Rosemary hasn't had the best past either. Because she was Jack didn't want like a long time ago. Jack didn't want that kind of thing.
Yeah.
She does. I mean, and like she's probably like mid 30s. I'm assuming currently.
I would think so. Yeah.
So I think that they're still able to adopt.
Mm-hmm.
They're still able to have that, and I'm really excited for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're gonna jump into the whole. First of all, I still don't think that that Helen had the right to tell Elizabeth not to tell Lucas. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
understand that she wants to tell her son herself. But I feel like that's not a good position that she put Elizabeth in. A little bit selfish. What do you think?
Yeah, that was a lot to drop on Elizabeth, and
Mm-hmm.
you could tell Elizabeth was really struggling with knowing that and not being able to tell Lucas. And she even confronted Helen again. Had you talked to Lucas yet? You could tell that Elizabeth was really struggling with this information.
Hmm.
So,
But I think that Elizabeth and Helen, by the end, they had like a strong relationship.
hmm
And I like that moment where like she like baby Jack, like fell into Helen's
yeah,
arms. And I think that Helen realized she needs to go and fix things because Elizabeth's like love is worth fighting for. You need to go and like fix things because it's also going to help Lucas too.
hmm
It's not just about you, it's about Lucas and like the future of his life,
hmm
which I did enjoy that. And then I liked how at the beginning Helen was being a little bit like being like a little bit like mad at Elizabeth for like having like playing both guys.
hmm
But I'm glad that she didn't mention it in their later conversation. She
hmm
did decide to leave, and I'm sure this is not the last we'll see of her.
right.
It might be, but I'm assuming she'll turn up again. I
hmm
mean, there could be issues. She might attend the wedding. You never know.
You
That's
never
still,
know.
but based on this last scene, it's a long time coming, even for these two. Um, Lucas is understandably upset with Elizabeth that he didn't tell her. I do think he might have over exaggerated a little bit though. But then again, like Elizabeth is still like kind of like in the wrong, here because she's not hasn't made a decision. She's not she's kind of like avoiding Lucas in a way too. Like she doesn't want to face her thing, and she's kind of like using like Nathan conversation to kind of like as an excuse to not talk to Lucas,
hmm
which I don't necessarily think is right. But like Elizabeth tries to comfort Lucas and says she's leaving. She's gonna try to fight for her husband, and that's like what you need to understand. That's the good news about the situation,
hmm
and you need to be happy for that. And like Lucas is like, well, what do you know about true love? What did you think of like that specific line? Do you think it was? I mean, we obviously both agree it was cruel, like Elizabeth said, but
Yeah.
what do you think of that?
I mean, Lucas is so hurt on so many levels. Finding out that his parents don't have this perfect marriage that he thought they had, that's just devastating to him. And then to find out that Elizabeth knew about it before he did and she didn't tell him.
Hmm.
And, he thought that him and Elizabeth shared some kind of confidence that,
Hmm.
she wouldn't keep that from him.
Hmm.
So, he's just really hurt. So, he's lashing out. And does he really mean it? Probably not, but he's
No.
just super hurt.
Hmm. And
So,
like this specific line, I mean, like it's also like he's upset with his own situation. I think it's also like like Elizabeth, she doesn't really feel true love for either of these men yet. We're just like we're like halfway through the hole. It seems like
mm-hmm.
who's she gonna choose? Like there's
Yeah.
still two sides. And like I don't think it's fair of Elizabeth to keep like doing this because she doesn't know if Lucas is her true love. She doesn't know if Nathan's her true love.
Yeah.
And like he's like, you don't really have the right to speak to me about like how a perfect thing should work, how like a perfect like relationship would work when you're not making a decision. Which I mean, I don't. I mean, there's like right pros and cons to like that. Like, is that right or not?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you think?
As you were just talking right now, it made me think of The Bachelorette. I mean, Elizabeth is the Bachelorette. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yes, it is.
I just can't even believe it's going on, and it's gone on this long.
It shouldn't be.
It's I'm actually over it.
Yes.
So
Yes. And I feel like, we've gone through this since mid-season 6. We're on season 8. We're like now 25% into season 8 now that I think about it, which is crazy. But like she needs to make a decision. I'm hoping that it's probably going to wait until the end of the season, but like I want it, like, and we need more. Like last episode was like a big we like I feel like we need things like that to happen, and like I mean, I'm glad that they incorporate that because that's like a big thing. But like when like she looked at Nathan, she looked at Lucas, and she kept walking on. I mean, she's not ready to choose someone yet. There's still a long time coming. I think that that's just something that us audience are kind of still upset with, but we're just going to wait and see what happens. Overall, it was a really good it was a good episode. I would scratch out the really part of it.
yeah.
It was decent, good character moments. Specifically, in my opinion, I liked Carson and Faith and Ned and Florence. I like those two probably the most this episode. I like Fiona too. I think this episode this episode frustrated me with the love triangle in my opinion. That ending scene, like I was like over it.
Yeah,
okay.
I agree.
And we'll be back next week to do our Heartland recap and our One Calls the Heart recap. So anyways, thanks everyone for watching the studio. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on your post notifications to know miss a video. Thanks for watching and bye.